roupa, porque no fim eu sei que vou tirar. Fala tchau pro seu batom na boca e fala oi pra quem te faz pirar. Se você já tá com a mesma sensação, pode vir, gente, que eu tô um vulcão. Tá descontrolada toda essa tara e não para porque a coisa ficou mara. Vou te ganhar no cansaço, no cansaço, no cansaço. Vamos fazer um regaço, um regaço, um regaço. Colarinha dos amassos, amassos, amassos. Vamos fazer um regaço, um regaço, um regaço. Rafa Gomes, digam no beat. Não perde tempo escolhendo a roupa, porque no fim eu sei que vou tirar. Fala tchau pro seu batom na boca e fala oi pra quem te faz pirar. Se você já tá com a mesma sensação, pode vir, que eu tô um vulcão. Tá descontrolada toda essa tara e não para porque a coisa ficou mara. Vou te ganhar no cansaço, no cansaço, no cansaço. Vamos fazer um regaço, um regaço, um regaço. Voar em altos amassos, amassos, amassos. Vamos fazer um regaço, um regaço, um regaço. Vou te ganhar no cansaço, no cansaço, no cansaço. Vamos fazer um regaço, um regaço, um regaço. Volar em altos amassos, amassos, amassos. Vamos fazer um regaço, um regaço, um regaço.
If you would like to hear Night Dreams Talk Radio on your local radio station, let them know. Tell them to check out www.nightdreamstalkradio.com, and thank you.
You're listening to my friend Gary Anderson on Night Dreams Talk Radio, the best in paranormal radio.
Well, John, I can't say we're the best. I can honestly say we're not the worst. We're somewhere in between. Tonight, we got Ray. He wrote a series of books called 50 Shades of Grays. Hey, Ray, are you still with us?
Absolutely.
Okay, so anyway, did you get yourself a nice cup of Java?
No, something better.
Oh.
A little bit of Maui Brewing Company's coconut porter.
Ah, lucky devil. You know, I hate to say it, I am what you call a cheap drunk. You give me half a glass of any beer, I'm totally gone. Well, you know, my friends, when they say, and that's why I don't go out to the bar or hang around with my friends. I'm no fun. I mean, you know, a whole bottle of beer and they're ready to take me home. And it's always been that way. Anyway, getting back into UFOs, what place did Nixon take his buddy, Jackie Gleason, to show him supposedly alien bodies?
I believe he took him to Homestead Air Force Base in Miami. And I believe that Jackie Gleason was based in Miami. He was living there at the time. And, you know, I'd love to believe that story was true. But, you know, there's so many obstacles, so many hurdles to that story. And Jackie Gleason, apparently he told his wife, and then his wife was the one who made it public. I'm not sure that Jackie Gleason ever made it public himself. And today I'm not sure if Homestead is even a full-fledged Air Force base. I think it got hit by a hurricane, and then, they may have downgraded it to, maybe like a reserve base or something. But yeah, I think it was Homestead Air Force Base that supposedly that happened at.
So it sounds like what they'd done with the alien bodies, they kind of like spread them all across the country in different bases.
Well, if you think about it, let's go back to 1947. Wright-Patterson Air Force Base had a regional hospital in what was known then as Building 219. And it was very near the flight line, just a few hundred yards away. So if they were to fly some bodies into there, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base would have had all the medical personnel necessary, at least to do a preliminary investigation of an alien body that was brought there. The facility had operating rooms, it had a morgue, it had vaults, it had medical personnel, it had medical equipment. It was, again, in an isolated part of the base, in the operational area. So if they were to bring in an alien for inspection, Building 219 would have been the place for many, many reasons. And there is stories of the people, in the Roswell area who claims that all the stuff, the material that was recovered in the desert and the bodies went to Wright-Patterson. And Wright-Pat would have been the place to send both of those. They would have had all of the required infrastructure to do the examination.
Interesting. What did you think about that originally aired years ago on Fox Network, the autopsies of the aliens? I know afterwards they said that was totally fake. Of course, I don't think Fox ever admitted it, but it circulated around really fast that it was a fake, video. What did you think?
It was very compelling at the time, and I do believe that the person who was selling that has actually come out and said it was a fake and named the nurse that helped them fake, the scene and all that, and they named the production company that did that. So I believe that has all come out already in the open, and they describe how they did it, what technologies that they had on hand to make it look realistic. So I believe that has already been self-debunked by the people who were involved in it.
I can tell you when it aired, I remember people panicking that saw it. It was like a major thing when that hit the network, and they ran it. I remember people at work were just freaking out about it, and it actually scared a lot of people because they then at that point figured, there is aliens. So, I mean, regardless if it was a fake, which they already proved it was, it did open again people's eyes that, aliens do exist.
Well, there's a lot of narrative out there that said we've recovered bodies, both living and dead, and at some facility where they've been taken, they've been examined. In book one of the 50 Shades of Grey's trilogy, I discuss the behind-the-fence look at where those alien bodies might have been interred when we decided to give them a burial of the type that we do here on planet Earth. And I have talked to the chaplains on the base, several of them, about would they have basically led that kind of a ceremony, and to a person they said, absolutely, and we wouldn't have to have been ordered to be there and lay these creatures to rest, because that's our job.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm just wondering, did we actually lay them to rest, or did we put them in a big jar of alcohol? I don't know. It sounds like, that our government must have a lot of bodies of aliens.
Well, if you listen to the narrative about, the different recoveries, Roswell, Aztec, others, that, there are dozens of possibilities there. I don't know. I've never been made privy to it. But, it's the old smoke and fire thing. It sounds plausible. And definitely, at least in the early years, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base would have been the place where they would have brought these things for all the reasons we outlined earlier.
Now, your friend was going to call in. I'm just wondering if... okay, here we got her. So, hey, great. That's perfect timing, wasn't it, Ray?
She is remarkable.
Yay. Well, our guest, are you there on the line?
Hi, Gary. This is Victoria.
Hi, Victoria. How you doing tonight, kid?
Doing really well, thank you. Hi, Ray.
Hello, Victoria.
Well, Victoria, I guess you have a lot to say, and why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself?
Oh, sure. So, well, I live in Colorado, and I met Ray back in 2013, and in 2016 we started talking. He asked me if he could tell my story. And, we had some back and forth, and I finally agreed to allow him to tell it. And, because I really just have a bunch of random stories, but there's a lot of validation, not only through for hypnotic regressions, but also through other information that I have uncovered or has come to me just coincidentally that would validate some things that happened earlier in my life. But I'm just a normal person living in Colorado who, has had some extraordinary experiences, I believe. I guess we can start from there.
Well, please do. Now, Ray, do you want to ask her some of the questions? Because, you know the story behind it. All I know is what you said.
Well, I'll kind of fill in your listeners on the background, how all this happened. First of all, at the top, Victoria is the principal character in the second book of the 50 Shades of Grey trilogy, and it's subtitled Victoria's Secret Truth. And it is indeed her truth. Victoria is a well-established professional. She did not have to come forward. And what happened is I met Victoria and her then boyfriend, and found out that she may have had some unusual experiences. And then 3 years after that first meeting, we were back at a conference, and we started talking again. And I said, hey, your boyfriend told me some things way back when, and I just want to learn more about it because, Gary, I mentioned earlier that I have this experiencer radar thing going. And with Victoria, for me, it was off the charts. So I knew that she was an experiencer, a contactee, and I really wanted to learn more. So she was less conscious of it than I was. It was like, I just have these stories and these things happen to me. But, I'm an engineer and I have to pull facts from all these different disciplines and then put together a solution to some problem. And it was the same thing with hearing her random facts. And I'm thinking, these aren't random. They're all related. There's something going on here. So we talked for about 9 months. I begged her to let me do this story. And it turns out that Victoria is a long-time experiencer. She has conscious memories from her childhood. She has evidence that she's been able to glean through 4 hypnotic regressions with world-class hypnotherapists about things that she has experienced as life has moved on, all the way up through her mature adult years. And I just decided that I'm going to look into this, and I want to poke my fingers in the hole, much like I did with those first stories about Exeter and Travis Walton and Rendlesham and Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. And it wasn't long. We did, weekly or twice a week interviews, over 60 hours of interviews. I did site visits with her, visited her home, interviewed her friends, and started to pull together all these random facts. And they basically tell the story of a person who has had a lifetime